You know that moment when you finally stop and realize you've been begging to be loved? Not in words, not even out loud, but in the little things. The extra text you send to explain yourself. The apology you offer when you've done nothing wrong. The constant checking of your phone, hoping for a sign that you still matter. That's what it looks like when love stops feeling like connection and starts feeling like performance. I've been there. We all have. It's the moment when you can feel your dignity slipping out of your hands, one unanswered message at a time. You keep telling yourself, if I just show them how much I care, maybe they'll finally see me. But they don't, because love that has to be proven is never safe. It's never mutual, and it's never sustainable. Here's the truth that's hard to swallow. You can't convince someone to love you by performing for them. You can only confuse yourself into thinking that proving your worth will make you lovable. It won't. It just makes you exhausted. See, when you're chasing someone's approval, you're not in love, you're in fear. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being left again. Fear that silence means rejection. But I want you to hear me. Silence does not mean rejection. It can mean protection. It can mean redirection. It can mean your nervous system is begging you to stop running after love that doesn't feel safe. When you are constantly trying to prove your love, you are actually teaching the other person and your own mind that love must be earned. And that's a lie. Real love, healthy love, grounded love doesn't need convincing. It breathes easy. It feels calm. It doesn't need an audience or applause. So what do you do when that old urge rises up, that urge to explain, to chase, to prove? You pause. You stop the spiral in its tracks. And this is where the Mel Robbins rule comes in. When you feel that wave of panic, the one that tells you to text them again, to overgive, to plead, you count it down. Work, end, with, send, are. And instead of reacting, you reclaim yourself. You put the phone down, you breathe, you remember this truth. Your worth was never up for negotiation. And the moment you stop begging to be loved is the moment you start being love itself. Because love doesn't need to chase. Love doesn't need to convince. Love doesn't have to prove. It just is. You don't chase people because you love them more. You chase them because somewhere deep inside, you believe you have to. You were taught, maybe not in words, but in energy, that love is something you earn, that if you behave, if you please, if you perform, then you'll be chosen. That's not love. That's survival disguised as devotion. Let's talk about why you do this. Because this isn't about being too emotional or too needy. It's about your nervous system remembering what chaos felt like. Maybe you grew up in a house where emotions were unpredictable, where connection was conditional, where love came with a checklist: behave, impress, don't upset. And every time you tried to be seen, someone withdrew. That's where the loop began. Your brain linked closeness with danger. And now, as an adult, your body mistakes proving your worth for creating safety. So when you meet someone who feels distant, someone whose silence triggers that old wound, your instinct isn't to step back, it's to fix it, to explain, to call, to make it right. You tell yourself, if they just understood how much I care, they'd stay. But that's not true. You're not trying to win their heart. You're trying to calm your own nervous system. You're trying to control the discomfort of being unseen. I want you to pause right here and realize something powerful. You are not broken for wanting connection. You're human. But what's hurting you is that you're seeking connection from a place of fear, not peace. Fear says, if I can prove I'm worthy, I'll finally be safe. Peace says, I am safe even if they walk away. There's neuroscience behind this. When you're in that anxious chase mode, your brain's threat system lights up the same part that reacts when you're in physical danger. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that makes calm decisions, goes offline. That's why you can't think clearly when you're panicking about someone's silence. That's why you send that text you regret 5 seconds later. You're not crazy. You're in fight or flight. Your brain is screaming, don't lose the bond. What? But here's the irony. The harder you fight to keep it, the faster it slips away. The only way to rewire this is to teach your body a new truth that love doesn't have to be earned. That safety isn't in their response, it's in your regulation. Because when you stop chasing and start breathing, your nervous system learns a new language, peace. And peace, that's what draws real connection in. You cannot perform your way into being loved. You can only pause your way back into yourself. And that pause, that 5-second window before you react, that's the start of your freedom. That's where the Mel Robbins rule becomes more than a trick. It becomes training, a rewiring of your old story. There comes a moment, and if you've lived long enough, you know this moment by heart, when you finally see that the person you've been chasing isn't the source of your pain, they're the mirror reflecting it. And what you've been trying to fix in them was never about them at all. It was about the part of you that still believes love must be earned. I remember standing in my kitchen once, hands trembling, staring at my phone, waiting for a reply that didn't come. That silence felt like rejection, like proof that I wasn't enough. But the truth hit me hard that night. It wasn't their silence that was hurting me. It was my own need for their response to make me feel worthy. That realization, it's brutal because it means the person you thought you needed to heal you was only showing you where you still needed to heal yourself. That's the awakening moment. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. It's the quiet after the begging stops when you finally hear your own breath again. It's when you realize, I've been fighting to be chosen when I could have been choosing me. You start to see the pattern for what it is. Every text you sent hoping they'd reply, that was your nervous system crying out for safety. Every time you replayed the conversation, searching for what you did wrong, that was your inner child begging to be understood. And every time you apologize for wanting more, that was your heart trying to survive on crumbs. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to. The people who are right for you don't make you chase peace. They become peace with you. They don't make you question your value. They reflect it. And you'll never be able to recognize that kind of love until you stop mistaking intensity for intimacy. So how do you end the cycle of chasing what doesn't choose you? That's where the Mel Robbins rule becomes your reset button. Because when that panic hits, when your mind says, reach out, fix it, prove you're enough, that's your moment to interrupt the story. You count it down. Wu, si, sen, ar, yi. And in that pause, you make the most powerful decision of your life. You choose peace over panic. You choose self-respect over reaction. You choose presence over performance. That's the moment you stop trying to control someone else's behavior and start mastering your own. That's where emotional freedom begins. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack next. Let's talk about how to break this cycle in real time, not in theory, but in the moment when your emotions are screaming louder than logic. Because let's be honest, when you're triggered, you don't need philosophy. You need a lifeline. And that's exactly what the Mel Robbins rule is. It's simple, it's practical, it's neuroscience, not magic. And it works because it interrupts the pattern that's been running your relationships for years. Here's what happens. When you feel that panic rise, when you start rehearsing what you'll say, when your thumb hovers over the phone, when your brain starts spinning stories, that's the precise moment your survival system has taken over. You've left your calm, logical self and entered fight or flight. Your mind is saying, do something, prove something, fix it before you lose them. That's where the rule steps in. You count backward. Wu, si, sen, ar, yi. That countdown isn't random. It's a neurological pattern interrupt. It shifts control from your amygdala, the part of your brain that reacts back to your prefrontal cortex, the part that chooses. It gives you 5 seconds to return to yourself. 5 seconds to breathe before you bleed emotionally. Let me show you what it looks like. You feel the urge to text them because they've been distant. You want to say, are we okay? Or did I do something wrong? Instead, you stop. You say to yourself, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, pause. You put the phone down, you breathe. You remind yourself, if this connection is real, it can survive a moment of silence. And in that silence, something extraordinary happens. You realize you don't need to chase peace, you can create it. The 5-second rule doesn't suppress your feelings, it gives them space to settle before you act. You're not denying your emotion, you're directing it. You're saying, I see you, anxiety, but you don't get to drive. Try it when you're about to overexplain yourself. Try it when you feel the pull to check their social media, to decode their silence, to scroll through old messages. Every time you count down, you rewire your emotional response. You're teaching your body that discomfort is not danger, that you can feel uncertainty and still be safe. Because that's what emotional maturity really is. Not the absence of reaction, but the mastery of it. The 5-second rule is the bridge between who you've been reactive, anxious, proving, and who you're becoming calm, grounded, certain. And over time, the more you use it, the more powerful it becomes. You'll start catching yourself before you spiral. You'll notice the urge to fix things. And instead of chasing, you'll breathe. You'll realize that the person you most needed to prove your worth to was never them. It was you. This simple countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, is your moment of truth. It's your nervous system learning a new pattern. I can pause. I can choose. I can trust myself. And when you start living from that truth, everything changes. Because you stop being controlled by emotion and start being guided by awareness. Something incredible happens when you start using that 5-second pause. You feel the energy shift. It's subtle at first. That old part of you that used to chase will still whisper, reach out, explain, fix it. But now, instead of obeying, you observe. You feel the urge, but you don't move. You breathe. And right there in that pause, you begin to experience what emotional power really feels like. See, when you stop chasing, you don't lose love. You lose leakage. All that energy that used to spill out trying to control outcomes starts flowing back into you. You begin to stand taller, speak slower, and move with intention. You stop performing. You start embodying. That's what centering is. It's not detachment, it's alignment. It's the moment you stop saying, please don't leave, and start saying, I'll be okay even if you do. That's not arrogance, that's peace. And people can feel it. They feel it in your voice, in your silence, in your timing. They sense that you are no longer vibrating with anxiety, no longer radiating the energy of choose me. Instead, you radiate something completely different. I've already chosen myself. Let me tell you something. That kind of energy is magnetic. Because when you stop trying to control how others see you, you create space for them to actually see you. When you stop performing for love, you become love. You become calm in a world that confuses calm with indifference. People who used to pull away begin to lean in. Not because you played a game, but because you changed the vibration. Chasing feels like pressure. Centering feels like peace. And no one, not even the most avoidant person on the planet, feels safe around pressure. But everyone relaxes around peace. The irony is that the very thing you thought would push them away, your stillness, your pause, your space, becomes the thing that draws them in. Because calm energy communicates what words never could. I'm not trying to control you. I trust myself enough to give you freedom. That's when everything starts to shift. The texts you used to send out of fear, you now send out of clarity, or you don't send them at all. The conversations that used to spiral into over-explaining now feel rooted, grounded, steady. You start to see that peace is more persuasive than panic ever was. And here's the truth. When you move from chasing to centering, you're not losing intensity. You're gaining influence. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is leadership. And emotional leadership is what changes every relationship you're in, starting with the one you have with yourself. When you've been chasing approval for years, emotional mastery feels unnatural at first. Your instinct says, I have to do something. I can't just sit here. But here's the truth. Mastery isn't about what you do, it's about what you don't do. It's the pause before the reaction. It's the breath before the spiral. It's the decision to respond with awareness instead of reflex. Let me say this clearly. You are allowed to feel everything: the anger, the sadness, the longing, the confusion. Feeling doesn't make you weak. Reacting from fear does. And the moment you start noticing your emotions without becoming them, you've stepped into mastery. Here's how it looks in real life. You notice you're triggered. Maybe they go quiet again. Maybe you feel ignored. Your chest tightens. Your mind starts racing. You pause. You literally say out loud, I'm anxious, not unworthy, because naming an emotion disarms it. The brain can't process language and panic at the same time. Then you breathe. You feel your feet on the ground. You remind yourself, I can care without chasing. That's your anchor. That's emotional self-leadership. See, reacting is about control, trying to manage what the other person does so you can calm your fear. Responding is about awareness, recognizing the fear and soothing it yourself. The difference between the two? Reaction says, I need you to make me feel safe. Response says, I can make myself safe and I'll decide what happens next. Try this the next time you want to send that long, emotional message. Write it out, but don't send it. Read it back after you've calmed down. Then ask yourself, am I trying to express or am I trying to control? If it's the second one, delete it. You just practice mastery, because emotional maturity isn't about silence, it's about self-regulation. You can speak truth without blame. You can say, that hurt me, instead of you made me feel worthless. You can express pain without assigning punishment. And when you do that, you teach others that your peace isn't fragile. Let me tell you something powerful. The moment you stop reacting, people start respecting. They feel the steadiness in you. They realize they can't manipulate you with distance or guilt or silence because you're no longer trying to control outcomes. You're rooted. You're calm. You're present. That's emotional mastery. It's not perfection. It's presence. It's choosing clarity over chaos every single time. And that choice over and over again is what turns emotional survival into emotional strength. It's what builds the kind of self-trust that no one can take away from you. Here's the next layer of this: transformation boundaries. Let's get something straight right now. Boundaries are not walls. They are bridges made of self-respect. They don't shut people out. They teach people how to come close to you safely. When you've spent your life proving your love, boundaries feel terrifying at first. You think, if I set limits, I'll lose them. But the opposite is true. Without boundaries, there is no relationship. There's only control, confusion, and resentment. A boundary isn't punishment. It's protection for your peace, for your clarity, for your dignity. It's saying, this is where I end and you begin. And that separation doesn't weaken connection, it strengthens it. Let me give you an example. Let's say someone keeps pulling away, going silent for days, and every time they return, you drop everything just to prove you're still there. That's not love. That's fear. A boundary sounds like this. I care about you, but I don't chase anymore. I'm open to connection, but not inconsistency. See that? You're not attacking them. You're honoring yourself. You're saying, I love you enough to be honest. I love me enough to be clear. Because consistency without control, that's the balance. Real connection is built on. You show up when you say you will. You express what you feel without forcing how they respond. You stay kind, but you stay firm. That's emotional leadership. Most people confuse boundaries with ultimatums. An ultimatum says, do this or else. A boundary says, here's what I will and won't allow, with or without you. One is control. The other is confidence. And listen, If you were raised to equate love with sacrifice, this is going to feel uncomfortable because for the first time, you're not abandoning yourself to keep someone else close. You're teaching them and your own nervous system that connection can exist without control. That love can flow without losing yourself in it. When you set a boundary, people might test it. They'll wonder if you mean it. That's okay, because boundaries are only as strong as your follow through. You don't have to explain them, defend them, or debate them. You just have to live them. And over time, something beautiful happens. You stop being anxious about how people treat you because you've already decided how you treat you. Your peace stops depending on their behavior. Your energy stops bleeding into every conflict. You start to feel calm, not because everyone is treating you perfectly, but because you're treating yourself with consistency. That's what boundaries really are, a love language for the self. And when you speak it fluently, you attract people who understand it too. Because healthy people don't run from boundaries. They respect them. They see your clarity as safety, not threat. They feel that you can hold space without trying to control it. And that, my friend, is what creates real trust. Let's talk about what real love actually feels like. Because most of us, myself included, were never taught. We were taught intensity. We were taught anxiety. We were taught that chaos means chemistry. But that's not love. That's adrenaline. And adrenaline is not intimacy. Real love isn't loud. It doesn't chase. It doesn't plead. It doesn't demand. It feels quiet. It feels safe. It feels like exhaling after holding your breath for years. When you stop trying to prove your love, you give space for something deeper to show up authenticity. Because love that's based on performance can only last as long as the act does. But love built on peace, that's unshakable. Here's the truth. Love isn't about being chosen. It's about choosing to stay grounded when emotions rise, choosing to be kind without losing yourself, choosing to listen instead of fix, choosing to protect your peace as fiercely as you protect theirs. That's what maturity looks like. Love that's rooted, not restless. It doesn't burn out because it was never built on intensity. It was built on respect. Respect for your own boundaries. Respect for their freedom. Respect for truth, even when it's uncomfortable. You start to understand that real connection isn't two people completing each other. It's two whole people walking side by side. It's love without losing autonomy. It's affection without attachment. It's passion without panic. And the beautiful thing is, once you've experienced this kind of love, even for a moment, you can't go back. Your body won't let you. Your nervous system will recognize the difference between pressure and peace, and it will crave peace every single time. You stop asking, why don't they love me? And you start asking, why am I staying where I don't feel safe? That's the shift. That's the awakening. That's how love transforms you, not by fixing someone else, but by freeing yourself. And here's the paradox. When you no longer need to be chosen, that's when you finally attract people who can choose you freely, because your energy has changed. You've stopped performing and started being. You've stopped chasing and started radiating. And love, real love, recognizes that vibration. It knows peace when it feels it. So if you're sitting here thinking, how do I start? Start with stillness. Start with honesty. Start with that 5-second pause before you give yourself away. Start by remembering that you are not waiting to be loved. You are learning to love yourself in a way that teaches others how to meet you there. That's the new definition of love. Not the one built on proving, but the one built on peace. Let's bring this full circle. You started this conversation chasing love, waiting for someone to finally see your worth. Now, they never had to, because your worth isn't something they discover. It's something you remember. You've learned that proving your love isn't connection, it's survival mode. That silence isn't rejection, it's an invitation to return to yourself. That calm isn't weakness, it's your new language of strength. And that's what this journey is really about. Shifting from fear to freedom, from performance to presence, from proving to being. So here's my challenge to you. For the next 7 days, I want you to practice what we've talked about. Every time you feel that pull to chase, fix, or prove, I want you to pause and use the rule. Wu, si, sen, r, e. Then breathe. Ask yourself, what would peace do right now? Not fear, not ego, peace. Write it down if you need to. Keep a journal of those moments. Because each time you choose calm over chaos, you're rewiring your brain. You're teaching your body that love doesn't require performance. You're building a habit of self-respect, one pause, one breath, one choice at a time. By the end of the week, you'll feel it. That quiet steadiness inside you, that's your new baseline. That's self-trust. And when you start living from that, everything changes. People who once drained you will lose their power over you. Situations that used to break you will just pass through you because your peace won't be for sale anymore. Here's what I want you to hold on to. You don't have to chase love. You become love through your patience, through your calm, through your boundaries, through your refusal to beg for something that should flow naturally. So the next time you catch yourself wanting to prove your worth, stop, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, my love doesn't need to convince anyone. It just needs to be honored first by me. Because when you finally treat yourself like someone worth respecting, the world mirrors it back. Every relationship, every conversation, every choice begins to shift. That's the power of self-respect. That's the miracle of emotional safety. That's how love becomes freedom. And if you remember nothing else, remember this. The person you've been begging to choose you is you. So stop performing for peace. Start living from it. Because that's where your power lives. Right there. In that pause, in that breath, in that decision to stop proving and just be,